Okay, so quick video on more info about citing government documents. I normally don't teach Gov Docs when I'm teaching the rest of your citation modules because government documents are weird. Government documents can also be difficult and confusing to cite sometimes. Students get really confused over what info they need to draw in. So I normally leave it kind of towards our Gov Docs module to go over this. And so if you look back at that PowerPoint we went over on Monday, I do have this page for info on where to get information on citing government documents. So if you look at Purdue OWL, coming back to our Purdue OWL website for APA, scrolling down here, info for Gov Docs is going to be under this reference list, other print sources. It's not a book, but it is another type of print source. They used to just have a section for Gov Docs, but they've recently updated it. You have these federal or state statutes. So if you're looking at public laws, how would you do that? You have this report by a government agency or other government organization to where you're looking at the basic info of you need the organization name, year of when the report was created, title of the report, and then the URL. So for example, you want this United States Government Accountability Office 2019 Performance and Accountability Report, fiscal year 2019. So remember, if you're having a title and a subtitle, make sure you're getting that whole title in there. And then it's just giving you that URL. Same kind of idea for report by individual authors at a government agency. So lots of times when you're looking at these Gov Docs, you're not getting a specific person. It's not Laura Hess at so-and-so agency that's creating this report. You're just getting it published under the agency and department name. But sometimes you do get people attached to them. And so if that's the case, you're going to list the person as the author. So you're getting that last name, first initials, year, title of the report, and then you're giving the organization or the agency name. So it's kind of like a website or an article that you're doing author, date, title of it, and then where did it come from with the URL. So you're getting this Palanker, etc., 2018, mental health at a parity risk, deregulating individual market impact of mental health coverage, yada, yada. Comes out of the National Alliance for Mental Illness, which is the government agency, and then you have the URL for where you're creating this. Any documents, any Gov Docs you are finding or government websites you're finding are going to be online. It's at least for this project and for our library's resources. We don't have a large amount of government documents anymore. We used to have more, but we're not required to be the full federal depository for the state. That's Chapel Hill, not UNC Pembroke. So we've gotten rid and quit collecting a lot of our paper items because they weren't being used. Who's going to come in and look at something in paper when you can just pull it up on Google? So everything you're going to be finding and accessing for your research is typically going to be online. So you need to have that URL to get back to where it is. So you kind of have these two generic ways to do this. I also gave you another website in the suggestion for I like this is a better APA guide for how to do Gov Docs coming out of Indiana University. So coming back to this website, so it's just Indiana University in Bloomington. They created a guide for citing U.S. government publications that's a little bit more in-depth. That Purdue kind of has this broad overview of you have a report, a law coming out of these two areas, but you get a lot more info of what's included in those type of documents and what should be incorporated in them and stuff like that, because that's where students really get confused. Lots of times within laws or House reports or even scientific surveys, they have like this serial numeration. So just like journals have volumes and issues, lots of times these reports have that type of info in there, and students get really confused on what you should be including. And so this has a little bit more detail on how to create these citations. So if you're kind of scrolling through, they tell you how to do it for the traditional print documents. Most of y'all are doing kind of print things that are on websites. So how do you do that? You might at some point in your life, if you really get into government research, have to pull up things on microfilm. I highly doubt it. I think I have argued with some of my colleagues on whether or not we should teach microfilms. I no longer do because the likelihood the average student is going to use them is kind of small. And so even if I do teach you how to use it, there's probably going to be such a big gap of time of me teaching you how to use it and when you're actually going to use it for a class that you're just going to have to learn it again. So I'd rather teach you at the point of need. But microphones are there. So this gives you more on kind of how to do congressional documents of if it's a congressional report or law or amendment or something like that, of looking at what you need, kind of things like whether it comes out of the Senate or the House of Representatives, what version, what number of Congress is it, what session is it, what is the bill number, bill title, and so addition statement kind of, and then the government printing office in the year for that. And so, for example, this one, U.S. House, so House of Representatives, 71st Congress, first session, House Report 678, a bill to protect purchasers of hats. Interesting. Coming out of Washington, D.C., Government Printing Office, 1937. So you need kind of all of that data in there. And so this site just gives you a little bit more info on what it is you're looking for. What does that actually look like in the citation? So you also get committee prints and things like that, hearings, reports, serial sets, sort of deal. So if you're getting the serial report 2707, if you're seeing that on that title page of what is this document, so you have that title page with all the basic bibliographic info on it. If you're seeing these kind of numbers on there, you need to include them. Other federal documents, constitutions, public laws, U.S. codes, Federal Register, etc. And so these are census data, which, by the way, if you have not filled out your census info at home, please do so. It is one, mandated by law, two, very important that you be counted in the national census every 10 years. Statistical abstracts, that kind of stuff. So it just gives you more of these breakdown of the most common types of official government documents and publications that you see and can be used for research. And so it does definitely give you a bit more info on what that looks like. So, for example, if you were in Primo and you found this, providing consideration for concurrent resolution, Transportation Security Administration, you found this document through Primo. This is a resolution coming out of the House of Representatives. And so you're getting the full text of it looking like this. And so this is where up at the top here, you're going to see, okay, this is the 114th Congress, first session, House of Representatives, report numbers over here. And then you're getting that full title of the report, date that it was published, and then you actually get the information with the report. So all of this info up here at the top. You also see at the top House Report 114-272. So you get that number twice from the U.S. Government Printing Office. So all of that bibliographic info, that's kind of what it tends to look like up at the top here. This gives you more information on how you should list that in your citations. Most of the time, though, students, you can be using these very official congressional, both at federal, national level, and state levels of info of coming out with the House of Representatives and the state senates and stuff like that as well. They are the official laws and how are we ruling different issues and stuff like that. So they can be very helpful for research. But lots of times you have lots of government publications that aren't laws, that don't have to do with the actual government on like the congressional side, but it's government funded agencies that are creating this scientific or local research about different topics. So for example, if you were writing about bees and you do a Citing.gov search for bees, you get these websites that are coming up about bees. So for example, this one. And so you're getting this credible site that is actually scientists who are employed by the government to bring you information on bees. So you're saying the National Bee Pest and Disease Survey Report coming out of this. And so this is where you're kind of coming into government documents that it's a little bit less clear sometimes for students, that you don't have this very official ruling of, okay, you need this fancy title and you need to have this exact number attached to it. This is more where we're coming back to this idea of you create citations with who, what, when, where, and how. So come back to that idea of your 4 W's and an how for this one. Okay, well, who is this long list of people? So it's coming out of, you have all of these authors, and so you'd have to list them. The when would be 2017. is when this has been published, I'm assuming. Typically, if you can't find this info at the very top, you might try looking at the last page to see if you have more info there. This one doesn't, but so you're getting at least 2017. Here's your title of 2016-2017 National Bee Disease Survey Report. Your publishing office is going to come back to what website or what government office does this. And so that's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, is also kind of part of this. You have the USDA Animal Plant and Health Inspection Service, which is APHIS. So if you're a little bit confused, you could come back to who is it publishing here. So you're getting this actual PDF. If you're a little bit confused, sometimes tracing it back to the base of the link, to the home link of what is this, who comes before that .gov, that's typically going to be the organization or the agency that is publishing this. And so you have the U.S. Department of Agriculture, also their subdivision of the Animal Plant Health Inspection Services for APHIS, is the publisher of this. And so you would need that after this title here, that this is the organization that's creating that. And then you have your URL. So this is how I got to it, and you can come back and download it there. So that's where you're kind of more making up the citations by taking these 5 elements that we've talked about for every other citation of the who created it, what is it, when was it published, where is it being published, and how. The biggest confusion is if you have the same person as your who and your how. So if you weren't citing this report, but you were actually wanting to cite something out of this page, you don't have a particular person attached to this page. You could scroll down and you get this Annie LeBrun as a contact down here. She's really the department head you're going to be contacting, the contact at the National Policy Manager. She's not necessarily the person who created this page, so I wouldn't want to cite her. Instead, we're citing USDA APHIS department. That's your organization. So remember, if you are listing an organization as an author and the website name, you only list it once and it comes after the title. So your citation for this would be Honeybees 2020 United States Department of Agriculture Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, retrieved from URL example. So that would kind of be how you're going back and creating those citations. No matter what you're citing, get your 5 elements in there of who, what, when, where, and how did you get to this, and you're going to be cleared on plagiarism. I'm also going to give you kind of a little tip. Normally, I like to teach students the correct way to do things, and I encourage y'all to do things well, to try to do things the right way and to excel with them. Reality check, though, is if you're struggling to cite this, in terms of government documents, I am willing to bet a substantial amount. If you don't know how to do it, your professor doesn't either. So save yourself from plagiarism, get who, what, when, where, and how, and you're typically going to be good to go. So as long as you have those elements in the correct place-ish for a GovDoc, I am good with your citations. So remember, you do have to have at least one government website or GovDoc that was created by a government agency. PubMed and ERIC do not count, but you have to have one of those for your final. And so if you have questions on how to find those, do let me know.